Vanessa.
And I'm Jason.
And today we're going to be teaching you how to play the game Flower Shower.
Designed by Sven M. Kübler, it plays between 1 and 4 players and takes around 20 minutes to play.
Let's get going and learn how to play. Welcome to Flower Shower. We're going to learn how to play Flower Shower, a fun and strategic roll and write game where you need to water plants in your garden to make them bloom and harvest as many points as possible to win. Let's dive in. Objective of the game. The goal of Flower Shower is to carefully water your plants so they grow perfectly. Each row of flowers shows the required amount of water for the plant. And you'll use dice rolls on these water dice to match those amounts as closely as possible. The better you're watering, the more points you earn. But be careful, watering your plants too little or too much will end up costing you points. The player with the most points at the end of the game wins. Setup. Setup is super simple. Have each player take a sheet from the gamepad, making sure all players are using the same side, A or B on the other side. A light blue water dice, and something to write with, such as a pen or a pencil. It's as simple as that. The player with the greenest thumbs will start the game as the active player, and also takes hold of the dark blue water die. How to play. Each turn follows a simple pattern which everyone will carry out together at the same time. Roll the dice. Everyone rolls their light blue water die. The active player also rolls the dark blue water die, and they may choose to re-roll one of their 2 dice a single time. Write your water total. Add the number from your light blue water die to the number on the dark blue water die in front of the active player. Here's our example, number 10. Write this total into any empty droplet space on your sheet. These are here. Pass the dark blue die. The dark blue die is passed clockwise, which will make the next player the new active player. And that's a full turn, easy as that. Play continues with these 3 steps until all droplet spaces on your garden sheet are filled, which will trigger the end of the game. Scoring. Each row of flowers has a watering can showing a required amount of water. Once all droplet spaces in a row are filled, add up the numbers and compare the total against the number in the watering can. If the total matches the requirement exactly, you've watered your plant perfectly and you score 5 points. Let's see here, +5. You write +5 in the circle at the end of the row. If you've given too much or too little water and your total is off, subtract the difference as minus points. Let's do an example. I've rolled a 2 and the active player has also rolled a number 2. If I were to put a 4 in this box here, it would be the same as the watering can, so here I would add 5 points to my total. However, if I were to put my 4 here, 10 plus 4 makes 14, this would be wrong, so I would have to put -1 as the difference between 14 and 15 is 1 point.
There are just a few more things you need to know before you can get watering. Firstly, there are dice bonuses here on the side of the page. Each group of 3 rows has an associated bonus. If you achieve perfect watering in all 3 rows, you will unlock the bonus ability. As you can see here, we got perfect watering in these 3 rows. These 3 boxes are ticked, which means we can use this bonus. However, if you don't achieve perfect watering in all 3 rows, like here at the bottom, we have a -1 and a -2 points here, we will not get this ability. Once you have unlocked the bonus, it can be used once on a passive turn in the future. That is to say, when you are not the active player. The bonuses are adjusting the roll dice by 1, either up or down by 1. The next bonus is to ignore 1 die result. That means you can use just a result from one of the rolled die. For example, if this was the rolled die here, instead of using a 6, I could use a 1 or a 5. And finally, this last bonus here lets you re-roll your light blue water dice once. Finally, we have these last 2 rows at the bottom of the sheet. This green one is known as the thirsty 4-leaf clover. This lucky clover loves water. When you fill in all 3 droplet spaces, you score the total sum as points. The more water, the better. But there is a bonus to be had here too. If all 3 numbers match in these droplet spaces, then you will score 36 points for that row. So for example, if we put a 2, a 2 and a 2 here, if that bonus wasn't there, we would score 6 points for that row. But because all 3 numbers match, we score 36 points. This red row is known as the prickly cacti. These are tricky. Their water total always results in negative points. try to keep your numbers as low as possible here, but the best strategy is to write the same number in all 3 droplet spaces. This will trigger the bonus, reducing your score loss down to 0. As you can see here, I tried to fill in this row with all of the same numbers, but I didn't manage it. I got a 3, a 3 and a 2. So these numbers combined make -8 for me. If I managed to get a number 3 in this last box, this would have been 0. End of the game. Once all droplet spaces are filled, total up your points. You get points for all the flowers you watered, points for the 4-leaf clover, and points for the cacti. There are also points available for the flower stalks on the other side of the sheet, which I'll explain shortly. The player with the highest score wins the game. You are now ready to play on Garden A, but there's just a little bit more to cover to explain how Garden B works along with the included solo mode. This is Garden B, also known as the Advanced mode, as shown by the letter B in the top right. If you play on Garden B, you will also have 2 flower stalks. Each of these stalks require 4 numbers which can be placed in any order. The orange stalk, however, needs a maximum of 20 points in its row, while the blue stalk requires a minimum of 36 points or more. Scoring is similar to the other flower rows. If you manage to perfectly water the flower stalk, you'll score 5 points. And if you don't manage the stalk's requirements, you will lose points equal to the difference. For example, on this orange stalk, which requires no more than 20, if your 4 numbers comes to 22, you would be 2 over, which would be -2 points here. If you manage to make your numbers add up to 18, for example, it would be 5 points for getting it under 20, and in this box here is a special box for extra points. You write in these boxes the difference between the requirement and the water you supply to the flower stalks. So for example, like I say, if you had 18 in this row, this would be 2 points as a bonus. The same goes for this row. If you manage to put over 36 in this row, then anything over 36 would be scored as bonus points here. Finally, we have the solo mode, which is available on both sides of the sheet, as shown by this little box down here. If you are playing alone, the rules of the game are the same, except for you can always roll both dice. And you can re-roll the dice up to 3 times during the game. When you do so, mark off one of these boxes at the bottom. When it comes to scoring, use a score chart to see how well you did. 75 points or more, then you are a master gardener. 30 or less, then maybe it's time to practice your watering skills.
And that's how you play Flower Shower.
We hope you have loads of fun playing.
Bye for now.
Bye.